Good evening. I call to order this meeting of the Gladstone City Council for Tuesday, June 11th, 2024. It's 6:30 p.m. The city of Gladstone, Oregon is situated on the traditional lands of the Clackamas, Chinook, and Kalapuya tribes. The rich history, culture, and contributions of those indigenous peoples who stewarded this land for thousands of years is worthy of acknowledgement and appreciation. I am grateful for the opportunity to live, work, and gather on these ancestral lands and to commit to learning from the wisdom and resilience of the indigenous communities that continue to shape the region. Moving forward, I want us all to strive to build relationships based on mutual respect, understanding, and collaboration with one another, to work together to protect and preserve the natural beauty and resources of this area, and to ensure a sustainable and harmonious future for all who call Gladstone home. The city of Gladstone is abiding by guidelines set forth in House Bill 2560, which requires the governing body of the public body, to the extent reasonably possible, to make all meetings accessible remotely through technological means and to provide an opportunity for members of the general public to remotely submit oral and written testimony during meetings to the extent in-person oral and written testimony is allowed. Therefore, this meeting will be open to the public both in person and virtually using the Zoom platform. The Zoom instructions were available on the agenda for the meeting. If members of the public would like to comment on an agenda item, either virtually or in person, they were to have emailed their comments or request to speak to the city recorder prior to noon today. Individuals attending in person may submit a speaker card, which are found on the table in the entrance, to the city recorder prior to the beginning of the business portion of the meeting. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. The City Council will also have Gladstone City event announcements during the meeting and business from the audience at the end of the meeting. To request to speak for those, the instructions are the same. Haley, will you call the roll, please?
Counselor Huckabee.
Present.
Counselor Alexander.
Yes.
Counselor Cook.
Present.
Counselor Roberts.
Present.
Counselor Garlington.
Present.
Mayor Milch.
Present. Let's stand for the flag salute, please. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Administrator Betts, are there any additions or corrections to the agenda for tonight's meeting?
I have nothing. Thank you, Mayor.
All right. You'll notice the seat next to me is vacant. Councilor Veronica Reichel moved out of the city of Gladstone and resigned her position recently. So tonight we have the important duty to consider appointment to fill the vacancy. We've received applications from 4 citizens of Gladstone, all of whom have had a past experience or current involvement with the city. It's a very difficult decision for the council to select someone from such a great body of applicants. And I want to thank all the people who applied for putting their names into consideration. I'll give you the names of the applicants. Let me find that section on the. All right, we have 4 applicants in alphabetical order: Gabrielle Blogg, John M. Kilstrom, Andrew Labonte, and Maria Mitchell. We accepted written applications. In the past, we've done some interviews. We've been through this process before. I'm just going to suggest a process tonight and hope that it works. Would a member of the council, in order to be appointed, anyone who applied has to receive a majority of the council votes, which with 6 of us here would mean 4 votes in order to be elected. So would any member of the council like to make a nomination from among those who have applied for the positions?
I'm sorry, we're making a nomination of one of the people?
Of one of the applicants, and then we can vote. Now you're giving me a puzzled look. That's different than the way we've done it in the
Yes,
past.
I wasn't prepared for that. That's okay.
Okay,
That's okay.
all right, because we could also,
I'm gonna move with the.
we are prepared to put all four names up and have just people vote individually on them.
No, you had a plan and we're gonna go with your plan.
Okay.
Completely acceptable.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
Because we've also adopted council rules that allow us to do, what is it? Ranked choice voting too, where we could number them 1 through 4. But we'll try with the simplest method first and see. I'm willing to guess that there's a good possibility with 4 applicants and 6 people that we may get a 2-2 tie or something like that. So
Okay.
we'll see how it goes.
Well, I would make a nomination.
All right.
I would like to nominate Maria Mitchell. I appreciate the fact that she's come back a second time for this seat. And I appreciate her work with the library, and we have had a recommendation from our counselor who has vacated the position to give her a nod to this person. And I think that that's who I'd like to put forth.
All right. Are there other, yes, Councilor Alexander.
So I don't know, how fair is that? Are we being fair to the people that did it last time? We interviewed them. We gave them an interview. And then this time we've got 2 new applicants. I think it tells a little bit on the interview, how they sit in front and stuff. So we don't want to do an interview again. We don't want to go that route, or I don't know. That's what I'm asking. I thought we were going to do the same process too. I didn't know you had to nominate or anything. I thought it was the same process as last time. So,
All right, you'd prefer that we do a similar process?
I think it worked well.
The last time we prepared interview questions and asked each person the same questions in the same order. And we did not prepare that kind of a thing for tonight. But we could do something. We could have a simple question that each one could answer.
Or if the council doesn't want to, that's fine. I was just saying, I thought we were sort of following same protocols last time, and that's what I was almost prepared for.
All right.
I would support Greg's recommendation also,
Okay.
interviews.
All right. Would other members of the council go along with hearing from the applicants directly tonight?
I'm prepared to reach a decision at this time without doing interviews.
Yeah, my recollection of how we discussed the process was to decide based on written applications, and that if any members of council had questions that of like follow-up questions, they were free and encouraged to reach out to candidates individually. I could go either way. I have no dog in this fight. We could make a decision based on the information presented to us, or we could do interviews. I think I will state, like, interviewing skills are different than the skills required to do the job, and we did not prepare any potential candidates for an interview tonight.
All right, so.
There's 6 of us, the flow.
All right.
3 and 3.
Would you like, yeah, I think Councilor Cook makes some good points. I do remember the recommendation to talk to people individually if you wanted more information. And I agree that without preparing people for interviews, it may be a little bit unfair to foist that upon them now.
We could do it at the work session.
That was my thought at the work session. Do like.
So you don't want to appoint someone tonight? We were hoping to get a person appointed and in the seat tonight.
I would have preferred interviews.
I would have too, but if
That's what I'm
the rest of
saying.
the council wants to do it tonight, let's do it. I mean,
All right, what's your preference? Tonight or postpone for interviews?
I'm ready to go.
I'd like to reach a decision this evening.
I'd prefer to reach a decision. I don't want to prolong the experience. I think we've had some lovely people who volunteered their time to come out, and I don't want to prolong their experience.
All right. I apologize for not,
No.
kind of clearing this with folks in advance. So,
Okay.
all right, we've had one of the names entered into a nomination.
Okay.
Is,
I would second that.
okay, and you'd second that?
Yes.
All right. Are there other nominations from among the candidates?
I'd like to nominate Gabrielle Blaug.
Okay,
I second that.
and that's been seconded. So we have 2 from among the group that have received nominations from council members. Anyone else like to make a nomination? All right. Gabrielle Blaug and Maria Mitchell have both been nominated. can we take a vote based on those two nominations? Okay. All right. Haley, if you could call the roll, let's have people vote for one or the other, and we'll see if we can get a majority for one of the other candidates.
Okay. Counselor Huckabee,
Gabrielle Blog.
Counselor Alexander,
Maria Mitchell.
Counselor Cook,
Gabrielle Block.
Counselor Roberts,
Gabrielle Blog.
Maria Mitchell. Sorry, I was fast.
Mindy Garling,
That's
Counselor Garlington,
Maria.
Mayor Milch.
Gabrielle Blanc. So I believe that Gabrielle Blanc received 4 votes and Maria Mitchell received 2 votes.
That is correct.
All right, then Gabrielle Blanc is appointed to the city council. And I think the plan was that we gave the plan packet to all the applicants so they would be prepared to step in tonight. And I hope you are, and I assume the others were. I want to thank you all for being a part of this process. Sometimes the decision is based on, we don't want to lose somebody from a position they already have where they're really serving the city well. And sometimes it's based on, you know, a variety of things. But as I said before, all of these folks have stepped in and served the city in recent years and in this current year, and we're grateful for that. There will be an election in November and 4 positions will be available open for the election on the city council. So anyone else among these groups or anyone else in the city who's highly motivated to serve on the city council will have an opportunity through the election process at this time. Gabrielle, if you could come forward then.
Thank you all.
Gabrielle currently serves on our budget committee and audit committee. She also serves on can you give me the name of the full name of the?
Leaders for Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Council at the county.
Okay, so it's a county advisory committee on equity and inclusion. So she has gotten involved locally in many good ways.
It's also worth noting that she's been present at most, if not all, city council meetings for the last 10 months.
We won't have to get her up to date on things.
So we're going to administer the oath of office to you. Could you raise your right hand? I'm going to give you this to read along with and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Gabrielle Blauk,
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the state of Oregon,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the state of Oregon,
and the Charter and Municipal Code of the City of Gladstone,
and the Charter and Municipal Code of the City of Gladstone,
and that I will,
and that I will,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
perform the duties of city councillor for the city of Gladstone, Oregon,
perform the duties of city councillor for the city of Gladstone, Oregon,
during my entire term,
during my entire term,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Of note, Gabrielle also currently sits on Traffic and Safety Board. We forgot one.
We need more volunteers.
That's right. That's another vacancy we'll have to fill. Oh,
All the budget, just do the comp.
and just to clarify, Veronica was elected in November of 2022. She served about a year and a half of her term. So this appointment is for the remainder of the second year of Veronica's term, but it will be up for election again in November.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, moving on. Our consent agenda tonight is a little shorter than usual because of some staff shortages this month. A couple of the reports, the financial related reports, will be delayed until another meeting. But we have approval of the May 14th, 2024 regular minutes, approval of the April check register, the legal costs for April of 2024, and the department head monthly reports for May of 2024. So is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I would make that motion.
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved by Counselor Alexander and seconded by Counselor Roberts. Any discussion? Haley, will you call the roll, please?
Counselor Huckabee,
Yes.
Counselor Alexander,
Yes.
Counselor Blog,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes.
Counselor Roberts,
Yes.
Counselor Garlington,
Yes.
Mayor Milch.
Yes, the consent agenda is approved. I always do this, but I'll call your attention. The department head monthly reports is one of the great ways to find out what's going on in the city. We approve them without much debate or anything, but I encourage you to read them. Many of them are full of data and with photographs and other good information. It's good to know. All right, next item. Oh, do we have any correspondence? Administrator Betts?
We do not.
Okay, we move on to item number 5, which is our monthly report from Clackamas Fire District.
Good evening, council. Great to see everyone again. I'm Brian Stewart, I'm Assistant Chief with Clackamas Fire, and we have Captain Greg Ledoux with us here tonight. I'll turn it over to the captain here in just a moment, but I just want to take a brief moment and recognize one of the Gresham firefighters who's still recovering from some very serious injuries from a fire. So Spencer Tejadas was in a duplex fire with 2 other firefighters. They got burned over. He's undergone a few surgeries and is working in recovery. Just ask that you keep him in your thoughts and hearts as we go forward. And I'll let Captain kick it off.
Thank you so much for letting me be here. I appreciate it. It's my first opportunity to speak in front of the City Council of Gladstone. Just a little bit about myself. My name is Greg Ledoux. I'm a native of the state of Oregon. I've spent 30 years in the fire service as a resident volunteer through worked in Columbia River, which is in Columbia County, St. Helens, Oregon, for 22 years. And then I've been here with Clackamas for the last 5 years. I really enjoy the fire service. I'm very proud of it. I spend some time with different groups teaching outside the state and within the state. So a little bit about me. I just recently moved to Oak Grove, so I'm pretty local to the area. From Northeast Portland. I grew up in Portland. But I've always also enjoyed living in the communities I worked in. So when I worked in Columbia County, I moved to Scappoose and got to enjoy being part of that community out there. I have a beautiful wife, Jessica, 2 wonderful kids that kind of live in the region, one in Oregon City, one down in Oak Grove also. And then 2 awesome Labradoodles at home. One of them's a puppy at this time. I was just recently assigned to the Gladstone Fire Station in March. I spent the last year and a half prior to that as a captain in training, and I ran our academies there. So the recent academies have come out, the last 4 academies, I had a part in that. And that's just a great opportunity to set the mindset for the people that are coming in to serve you. This is a beautiful city. It reminds me a lot of St. Helens, the town that I work in. It's quaint. I worked in a fire station, was right there on the boulevard. So a lot of traffic, people walking by, saying hi, popping into the station. I love that type of setting. Prior to going to training, I was at Station 15 in Midtown, Oregon City. It's kind of the same type of setting. So love the opportunity to interact with people and just kind of show off who we are and doing our thing. Today, just kind of let you know what we did today, this morning, 5 classes, kindergarten classes from the Center for Children and Families came by this morning for tours. It's always a great opportunity to see the kids. They're really excited. But it's also just that last day, a couple days before they go off to the summer break to just kind of remind them of fire safety and show them our fire station and show them the fire engine. And then I was just going to kind of give you guys some real quick what our numbers were for May on runs for Gladstone. Let's see here. There were 160 incidents within the city of Gladstone. 137 of them are what engine 322 responded on. And then there were total responses by our engine 322 of 264 total responses. So as you all know, we have the city of Gladstone that we serve, but we also serve outside of those boundaries. There are some calls we were not able to make it to. Two of those were because of training and other incidents within the district. So of course we have engine 15 that's just right up here in Oregon City. We have engine 3 down here in Oak Grove, and then truck 4. They're usually coming in to help us out when we need help. And a lot of times we're out there popping out, helping them also. And that's really all I have for you. Do you have any questions?
Any questions from counselors?
I do.
All right, Counselor Huckabee, go ahead.
I was curious if you guys have already seen an uptick in water rescues.
We have.
Early
We've
season,
we've had quite a few. A lot of those were prior to AMR being there in the rocks. So we've had an opportunity to help a few people get out of the water. We did have a few months ago. We had a pretty spectacular opportunity in April to actually get in the water and help. And the really interesting thing is we have a water team out there in Damascus, and that's their primary role is getting in the water. But our firefighters on that call specifically made a decision to go in the water and get that person out of the water without that specific training. But it's that point of decision whether we're going to save a life and risk a lot for that. And I'm really proud of our people for doing that.
Thank you.
Counselor Cook?
Oh, I just got excited. I recently chaperoned one of my kindergartners' field trips to the Clackamas Fire Station in Gladstone, and the educational session was just great. They have a little fake house with a little smoke machine that all the kids can talk about fire danger, and it had a really big impression in the eyes of my 5-year-old and his friends. So thank you.
Yeah, we're very fortunate to have a great public information group. Captain Shanklin came out today also to help because one of the groups did not get to see the fire engine because we had to run some calls. So it's great. Carrie does a really good job and she kind of covers us. She's the pro.
Thank you.
Thank you for continuing to bring new folks that are new to us here and, to continue to, demonstrate that good community support that is so important to us in forming this relationship with Clackamas Fire.
Oh, absolutely. It's our pleasure to be in front of you. And it's great to see Greg up here. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, just depending on calls and scheduling. So Greg has been fantastic. I will tell you, he's put through 4 academies as a training officer. One of the academy graduations, must have been not this one, previous one. It stirred me. Like it reminded me why I became a firefighter. I would have loved to have trained under this guy.
Thank you.
So anyway, moving on. Before I get all choked up, he's a leader, and one of his AOs is promoting to lieutenant July 1st. So Nick McAvoy, who's been working out of Gladstone, is going to be moving off to go be a leader elsewhere in the organization, which is terrific. Just a couple things to provide updates on. We'll have some more information on this next topic probably next month, but just to get it on your radar. Clackamas Fire has been working with the county. It's really a county piece with the CCOM, our dispatch center, to implement a program called Nurse Navigation. So Nurse Navigation is going to be another opportunity for the dispatchers to receive a call and have a place to an endpoint for that call. So classically, it's been police or fire, and they have to put that call someplace. Now they'll have the option as they work through a protocol of going police, fire, or nurse navigation for non-critical calls. Those can always get brought back into the 911 system if they're needed, as if the nurse decides that. But having that higher level of medical expertise will do a few things. One, from the fire side of things, it'll keep our heavier assets and our ambulances available for critical calls. 2, it'll get people to alternative destinations like urgent care clinics or follow-up appointments the next day to, again, reduce the burden on emergency room crowding. And it'll reduce the cost of that medical care being provided. So that'll be rolling out in July or August. And as that gets closer, we'll have more information for the councils. And certainly there'll be a lot of public education to supplement that as well.
May I ask one question regarding
Certainly.
that? Are you working with a particular company partner with that, or how's that work?
Certainly. Yeah, that's fantastic. So I believe the company that is the overarching, and maybe this is a subsidiary of it, is Global Medical Response. So they also own and operate American Medical Response. And I should share that Nurse Navigation has been a proven entity in process just across the river in Vancouver. They've been on it for a couple of years now, I believe, and it's been used in other states. This is the first foray into it in Oregon. So a lot of, as you can imagine, a lot of training and setup, not just with our providers, medical providers, but really with dispatch, because that's really where that piece sits. So looking forward to seeing that rolled out. And so that'll be a stage rollout, and again, more information coming up in the next months. While it doesn't affect anyone within the city of Gladstone, just so it's on people's radar, should they see smoke out in the areas outside of here, backyard burning ends June 15th. So we're shutting that down come June 15th. So you shouldn't see any more of that, especially as the summer comes around. And then just two last pieces for public engagement. We are opening Station 13. So that's out in Clark's off of Beaver Creek. That's going to open up with 3 firefighters on a Type 1 engine. Type 1 engine is what you see in the city fire department like here. We scale them on different things. They'll also have a wildland engine out there with them. But that's going to open with 3 people on July 1st. And we're excited to have an open house for the public June 29th from 10 to 1. Why is that important? Because that is an opportunity for Nick Brown to practice flipping hot dogs before the July 4th competition with your police chief. But we're excited to kick off the summer. I think you said it well, you know, summer's turning. It's a chance to be engaged with the public just in a different way. So we're looking forward to, you know, just the events, the August weekend and moving through. So happy to answer any questions.
I just want to commend you guys for always being so cutting edge. The nurse navigation, first in the state, that's fantastic. The VR programs we keep seeing that you're putting out. I'm just thrilled to be a part of this organization, working alongside you guys. Appreciate what you do. It was good to meet you, Captain Ledoux. Thank you for being here tonight.
All right. Thank you both for coming.
Thank you. Thank you, Counselor.
And as I mentioned with our department head reports, we also get good printed reports from the fire chief each month. And some of the things that Councilor Roberts referenced are described in greater detail there. So I commend those to you. Item 6 in our agenda is our regular time for announcements about city events coming up or recently passed. And I understand we have some requests to speak tonight on that.
Yes, there are 3 requests. First is Bryce Colson.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Good to see you up here once again. We had our arts fair last time for the first time ever in Gladstone. I'd like to thank those of you who made it down there. It was a really positive event. We had about 1,500 attendees or so, lots of positive comments. Everybody was happy, and especially the businesses were all happy and the artists. You know, a lot of times you get people just going from one, like they'll go to an event, but they won't patron the businesses. This was opposite of that. This was very business oriented. So as a business owner myself and all my neighbors have said, thank you. We'd also like to thank the city for your support through the grant program. We did have one issue, and that's really one thing I want to talk about up here. We had a canvasser come, and he was aggressively collecting signatures at the event. Now, I recognize and see the need to allow people as this is a protected activity. But one thing, if this were a concerned citizen of Gladstone trying to push something through that they thought was important to town, that would be one thing. Unfortunately, this person was a paid employee of Fieldworks Oregon, and we did ask them very politely to please stick to the sidewalk where you are legally required to be. He just tried to escalate the situation. I did a public records request this week, and Fieldworks did not have a license to be doing business in Gladstone. We as Rotary, we do a lot of events here in town, and we would like to see some precedent set. We were getting, and it wasn't just us complaining, you know, we the Rotary and the North Clackamas Arts Guild, we got complaints from vendors. He was invading their personal space to get, he would use their tables to collect signatures and stuff, and people were kicking him out of their tents. And the big issue here is that it's really not fair to the people who have jumped through the hoops. They fill out what I would consider an informationally invasive form to get the temporary transient mobile vendor permit. And then everybody's following the rules, being in their 10 by 10 space in their numbered spot. They stay exactly where we ask them to. They don't cause a problem. They're doing their thing. And then when another company is coming out with paid employees to do business, that's where it gets frustrating. We did call the police and they were not able to come down and do anything. I don't know what the magic request would have been. On another note, there were no police down there at all. And we think as community event organizers, it would be nice just to have a uniformed officer down and present to be a part of the community. You know, we want to know these people. They are protecting us as citizens, and it would be nice to know their faces. Basically what I'm up here is I want to work together to maybe set some precedent for future events where we can say, hey, you guys need to stay on the sidewalk, you know, or fill out your business license, something that makes it fair to everybody who is volunteering and paying to be at this event. You know, we as the Arts Guild and Rotary, we didn't get our vendor fees from them, and here they are vending their business. So that's the big thing. But overall, it was a really amazing event. And I would like to work with staff and you all. I'm more than happy to answer questions more when I have more time about this. But overall, thank you for all your support. Thank you for coming, and thank you everybody for having an amazing event. It was really great.
Thank you, Bryce. I see on social media, people complain about people soliciting door to door without a license in Gladstone. It's a hard thing to to monitor and keep track of, but we do have the regulations, and I agree, they ought to be enforced and applied. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. Next, Haley.
Bob Everett.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. No mouth to mouth tonight. Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm back on my monthly sojourn into City Hall here. I want to thank everyone for all the work that you do and everything else. I don't have much tonight, opposed to, although I can always blab. First off, I want to thank everybody for the Arts Festival. I want to thank Bryce for putting it on, Sarah for putting it on, through our club. They did a great job, and the Arts Guild. It was a lot of fun. I was there, dishing out popcorn and helping out the best I could. And I will say one thing: the solicitor was annoying. But I'll leave it at that. Bryce said enough. This month we're starting Movie in the Park Friday night. Hopefully the weather will hold out. It looks like it's still going to be a little cooler, but I think it's not. We're hopeful it's not going to rain. We're going to be we're basically starting the movie. It's going to be dark late, so probably around between 9:30. We're going to be there at 8. Fully set up. We're going to be serving popcorn, candy, all the accoutrements that you sort of get at when you go see a movie. We'll also be serving some drinks. This weekend is back. This Friday is Back to the Future. So come on out. We've got a great sound system, great video system. We looked at it in my backyard and it's fantastic. So it should be a lot of fun. We're going to have that, of course, every second Friday of the month. So next month, and then and we're having Back to the Future at that one. Is it Back to the Future this week? I'm sorry, I misspoke. Back to the Future is this Friday, and then next time is Indiana Jones. Thank you, Bryce. Yep. I've got this little bird in the back here, so yeah. And next week we're going to have, next month we're going to have the community center and their music then too. So that's about it. Closed Closet is done for the year. I don't think there's one this Saturday, and they'll be done basically until September. Bingo is over until October of next year, and our or October, next season. That's how I look at it. And of course, we'll have bingo at the festival. And the festival, August 2nd and 3rd, and it should be a lot of fun. So any questions? Any questions?
A plug to get those volunteers to get in and sign up online. I already did because I was feeling the pressure from one of my council people here.
Yeah.
So I got on and I did it. So everybody needs to get online and sign up for your volunteer spots.
Yeah. How are those going, Russ?
Well, so far, the only people who have signed up are y'all.
There you go. Okay.
Let's see
So
if we can
need
get
a lot more
100%
people.
of the council on there.
Yeah, that's for sure. So any other questions or comments?
Thank you for all you do.
Thank you. So it's just, yeah, well, you know, it's, we love doing it. That's for sure. There's no doubt about it. I'm excited about Friday. So, you know, should be fun. Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you,
so
Dr.
much.
Bob. Haley, what else is happening soon? Who else has something for us?
Ralph Mateel.
You want to push that button to make sure that there you go.
It's on. Good evening, Mayor, Council, and City Administration. I just wanted to publicly invite you to the Gladstone High School multi-class reunion during the Community Festival coming up on Saturday, August 3rd. This year will be the first year we've teamed up with the Gladstone Oak Lodge Rotary and holding the reunion at Max Patterson Park during the Community Festival. The reunion starts right after bingo at the park around 6:30. This no-host grassroots event has been successful in reuniting thousands of alumni, staff, and friends of alumni over the last decade and a half. It is truly a no-drama event, which is really kind of cool. Everyone behaves, and we're hopeful for another successful year. I encourage you to check in on us, and we'd love to have you attend. And as always, we appreciate your past support and support going forward. I believe this event within an event is one of the many ways we can continue to weave the community involvement into the fabric of our community's character. I also believe community involvement is one of the cornerstones of a more vibrant and livable community. So in my mind, the Community Festival, along with the multi-class reunion event, is a win-win for all of us. So hope to see you there.
Thank you. It once again points out that great connection between our school system and our community, that people who graduated from the high school continue to maintain relationships with one another and love to get together once a year, regardless of which class they graduated in. There's that connection that really is one of the outstanding things about the city. So thank you so much for reminding us of that. And we look forward to that. All right, we move on now to our, there were no more, right? That was, okay. We move on now to our regular agenda, and these are the business items that we have. We begin with the presentation from Central City Concern, and then after that, we will consider Resolution 1236, amending Exhibit A of Resolution 1223 by revising the solid waste rate structure schedule with Gladstone Disposal, effective July 1st. Then we will consider awarding a contract for annual slurry seal street maintenance. And finally, we get some updates on the use of American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA funds. So we will begin with item 7, a presentation from Central City Concern. Staff, would you like to make an introduction to this item?
Drew is ready to go. He has a PowerPoint for you. As you know, that Central City Concern recently moved to Gladstone. They outgrew their business, and he's here tonight to talk a little bit about the program, the services they offer, and how to be a good partner in our community.
Hello, my name is Drew Grabham. I use he, him as pronouns. I'm a clinical social worker, and my title at Central City is the Director of Street Outreach. And I have a partner there. And I'm going to just come and talk to you a little bit about Central City in general. What we do is a big organization. I'm going to quickly talk about our facility that's over there on McLaughlin when we came in here. And I had a chance to take a tour with Marcy and the chief of police to kind of come over to our building. We're new to sort of Gladstone. We were up in Oregon City, but like I said, we outgrew our above garage space and we're excited to be here to be a part of the community. So I will try to talk a little bit about Central City in general. We are primarily in Multnomah County. We're a very large organization. We have about 1,100 employees, and we run 13 clinics there, a lot of primary care clinics. We have a detoxification unit. So we have a primary care arm, we have a behavioral health arm, which is both mental health and substance use disorders. We have an employment center. We're a very large organization, but we're really excited. And who we primarily serve are folks that are houseless. And we're there to sort of help connect people into care. And so we're really proud of the work we do. We're really proud of our organization. About 60% of our folks are folks that have lived experience. So we're maybe previous participants that have now come through and are part of our team to sort of support folks into care. And we're really honored to be a part of that. We also have a lot of housing. And I'll get to a little bit about some of our housing in Clackamas, but our lead team has been in Clackamas for about 5 years. And we're actually the only healthcare portion of Central City that's actually outside of Multnomah County in the moment. Uh-oh. Just go next. Who knows what that did? And like I just said, here's a lot of our different programs that we have. We have 2 primary care centers. We actually have a mobile medical clinic that we've started with 2 vans. We operate several outpatient mental health and substance use disorder programs, and we have a lot of different housing. So we have about 2,000 units of housing that we operate across like the Portland metro area, all from some program housing, transitional housing, and other more formal just basic rental housing there. And we're really excited to be in that space. The 2 programs we have here are Town Center Courtyards and Shayami are the 2 Clackamas County housing programs that we have that are alcohol and drug-free housing with a lot of family and other supports there. And then we're also very proud of our employment. We have an employment access center in downtown Portland, and we have a Clean Start program and other things. Like I said, we have about 60% of our folks have lived experience, and we really are trying to create a true continuum of care. So go to the next slide. So I'm here to talk about our outreach teams, which is really what I oversee a lot of these teams. Our outreach, so a lot of what we do are bricks and mortar buildings, right? We have a clinic, people come to there, they get served there. There's a certain percentage of the population that's not going to work for. They're not going to be able to come. They're going to struggle to make it into the clinic on time. And so we're creating outreach teams that can go and meet them where they're at and then help them navigate into the care they're doing. So the teams that I'm supporting directly or indirectly are our navigation team, which is a team that works with folks that are in encampments and try to connect them up to care in Portland. Our lead team here in Clackamas, our mobile health team, our ICM and core team, which are very intensive behavioral health teams in Multnomah County, and then our heart team, which is a new outpatient street-based mental health team that we're starting to launch there in Multnomah County. And we're really excited about some of those things, and we're very excited about like what LEAD can do and how we can be a part of the community to really help make pathways to care and support folks where they need to be supported. To go to the next slide. We really believe that outreach is a key to what we're doing. We're really trying to connect either former patients of ours, people that should be our patients, or current patients of ours that are experiencing houselessness to the type of care that they want to do. So we're really trying to get people in, if they're ready to get into housing, if they're ready to get into medical care, if they're ready to get into recovery services, or employment. This outreach team is really to help walk along a pathway to somebody and help them really land at the front door of what they're doing. So go to the next slide. Now to our Clackamas lead team, which has been around for a while. It is the population we focus on is people that are experiencing homelessness and have a lot of contacts with our criminal justice system. So we try to be a different way to engage people and try to help them navigate along into various services that they're interested in. And if they're not ready to engage in those services, we're there to talk with them about why not and try to help them sort of identify what they see their barriers are to engaging those cares and find those pathways to getting into care. Right now, our team is actively working with about 90 different individuals in active case management, and we have about 55 of those folks housed and securely and safely housed in there. And we're trying to sustain them in that housing. So we have our street-based outreach, which is where we are in the camps, engaging people on the street and just trying to get to know them and trying to help navigate them to maybe the point in care. They may not know where to go, or they may not be able to access it there. So we'll try to maybe get them there. Some of those folks that meet some of our criteria, which again has to be sort of police involvement, corrections involvement, probation, and not succeeding in those programs, we can try to work with them and engage them in our case management services, which is really more intensive services that's outside of the usual traditional model of services. So like some case management is done in like formal behavioral health treatment, you get an assessment, you go to a clinic. This is street-based care. Like, what would you like to work on? You need an ID? Let's figure out how to get you an ID. You don't know where to get clothing? Let's talk about getting clothing. How can you get there on your own? If not, can we take you there and go with you so we can help really skill people up and understand how to engage in those services. So we're an empowerment model trying to serve people there. And then our third level of our thing is our housing department. And like I said, we're really proud that we have about 55 folks in various levels of housing of the people we're actively working with. We not only help them navigate into housing with the thanks of the county and some of the vouchers they have, but we also work to sustain them in that housing, continue to do home visits, and then continue to try to engage them and say, would you like a doctor? Why or why not? If you'd like one, let's go. Can we go with you? And we're really trying to have that model. Our team is really made up of chemical dependence counselors, qualified mental associates, so folks that have done some case management, and all of my team has some lived experience in and of itself, and we have a few peers on our team. So we're trying to have this multidisciplinary team that's outside of traditional care, that's trying to engage people and then connect them into care. So that comes to our office that's on McLaughlin Boulevard. It really is our engagement center. So that's just where our office is. We store a bunch of supplies, we got a bunch of water, and we got a bunch of offices. And folks that are working with me can kind of come there and meet with us and talk with the case manager about applying for benefits or getting an ID and doing those things there. The great thing is our office is almost always empty because we're really out on the streets, because we truly believe recovery and services are out there. They're not in any of these buildings. So even though we have this building, it's really just to like write notes and like us get out of the rain or the cold or the heat for a little bit, and then and meet with a few folks when we need a little bit more privacy, when there's some conversations we just can't have on the street or at the river or wherever it is. And we're really trying to think of that. If anyone asks like what the center is, you can just say it's a Central City Concern Engagement Center. Like we're there to try to engage people in the moment, meet them where they're at, and help them figure out what their next steps are. So that's kind of the key of what we're trying to do there. And this team is really trying to get people connected to the longer term solution, to that clinician, reunited with family, to employment, any of those things that they might want to be interested in doing, but never thought was accessible to them. If you could go to that last slide, I think. So that's a little bit about who we are and like what I hope I could provide a little bit of like, what is Central City? It's a really big organization, but we're really rad and cool and do a lot of cool things. And then this lead team is a really special part of my heart. And it's kind of a part of all the other outreach teams that we involve there. But I wanted to come and just see if there's any questions I can ask for, answer for you, or provide any other information.
Well, thank you, Drew, for coming and helping us have a little better understanding of your street outreach and what's involved and how that relates to the building here in our city. Are there questions or comments from, I'll start with Councilor Huckabee.
Thank you. No question, just thank you. What you guys do is amazing. I drove by one day and I was like, wait, there's a Central City Concern here. So I was very happy about that.
Thank you.
Your organization is wonderful.
Councilor Alexander.
I just wonder, so you work with like my father's heart's right up in Oregon.
Mhm.
So you're all guys are all intertwined, all these.
I'd like to say we're coordinated and collaborative. Yes, that's how
Okay.
I like to say that. But yes, we do work with them and like with Father's Heart, Love One, up and above, like all the other outreach teams in here that are funded by the county. We try to have a coordinated effort, and we're a part of that coordinated
You're all
access.
networked.
And with the community, the coordinated housing, the child workers, like we're trying to either do the assessment or get them connected there, and then get the RLA vouchers from them. So we're very connected within all those groups. Yes.
Outstanding. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
Also, just thank you for the work that you do. I think we all like to think that, some of these challenges are really separated from us, but
They are not.
very, very much not. Homeless people are not coming to us from Portland. They're here in our community. Thank you for serving everybody. So you mentioned that you're mostly out on the streets connecting with your clients. So when I think about Multnomah, and I'm generalizing as an outsider because I'm not familiar with your work. When you think about Multnomah County, I think it's probably easier to find large groups of people who need services, right? There's encampments or there's like congregation sites or generally, right? Easier
Yeah.
to find people who might need services.
A little bit.
In Clackamas County, I feel like it might be more challenging to locate people, or how do you do intake with people? Are you referred by, how do they find you? How do you find them?
There's multiple factors. So one, we can get a referral from the county. So the county, Clackamas County has a referral. I wish I could remember the address, but Helinda is the outreach coordinator who gets these certain requests and then sends it out to a bunch of the other outreach teams, and we get a destination or a location, and the public can access that.
So is this like a 211 call? Someone
Sort of,
calls
but
them?
it's not, it's a different website, it's a different email, and I should know it, but it's not my website. But we also get referrals from the DA's office and the community court up in Oregon City. We get drive-bys, like we put the sign up and people just started showing up and being like, can I get housed? And we said, oh, no, we can't, but let me show you, let me answer some questions. And then honestly, some of the best referrals we get are from other houseless folks that say, I'm fine, but can you check on my friend down here? And then we kind of go in that area. I have one worker that's a screening and outreach worker who's trying to like be responsive and kind of show up, but maybe go along with the sheriffs. The sheriffs can sometimes reach out and they're worried about a camp. Who they can think about our teams is like somebody who has some like behavioral health needs that are not so acute that they need crisis work, but they just need someone other than an officer to respond. And we can try to get to meet them and try to help them understand what their options are about relocation.
Great. And then thinking about, I think you were asked earlier about coordinated care with other organizations. What do you guys really specialize in? Like, when does loved one say, okay, call?
I think it's a little bit when there's a little bit more of a behavioral health component. We're not, again, I'm a clinician, but my staff are not clinicians and we actually aren't a treatment provider, but we're working towards it. And we're working with like Clackamas County Behavioral Health to like create pathways into more of those access points and use the crisis center on 82nd. But I think of our services as some of those folks, like sometimes it's just like they've tried to work with this team and like they're just frustrated and they just need a new face to come in and then we can sort of collaborate or trade or share. And sometimes that's what it is. And then sometimes it's location. Loved One has some of their regional areas that they're in more, and then there's some other opportunities for other areas. And like we might be able to be nimble and get over there and see someone. Yeah.
Thank you again for your work.
Yeah.
Thank you for what you do. I just kind of had a question. The 55 out of 90 that you currently have housed, what's your level of retention with that? Or how long do you?
Most of those folks have been, we're staying involved like through the duration of their, of their, most of their housing, because they're on ARLA vouchers, and some of the county's new ask is that we stay resolved into and being their housing retention specialists, which has been a little bit of a shift from what we started. We were a street-based outreach team that had no housing 2 years ago, and so now we're growing. That's the new building. So we're sort of trying to pivot and be responsive, but some of that housing retention, well, as awesome as it is, does take away from the street outreach, because those are two different things. To go to a camp and serve somebody and then serve somebody in housing actually takes two different skill sets and different time frames and all that. So we're trying to juggle some of that balance. And I'll be really honest, we're trying to juggle some of the balance of staff retention. This is hard work. This is beautiful, lovely, difficult, frustrating, compassionate, work to do. And some of our staff are burned out. We still haven't recovered from much of our safety net from COVID. Folks went remote and doing it. So we're having a little bit of that, and that's a behavioral health crisis across our state, and Clackamas County is not immune to that, but we're working on that. And that's one of the opportunities that Central City is trying to show up in is, again, I talk about it in Multnomah County, but I'm mixing both an outreach team and a clinical outreach team with some of those things. And we see some of that being some of the need in the future to like serve that gap and connect people.
And then could you add on to, of those 55, what are your longest running cases that you currently have with those?
5 years. We've been working with them since like day one. There's a few folks that we've been working with. They haven't always been housed all the time. Some coming in and out, and they're pretty high acute needs. These are sometimes visible folks with a lot of other contexts, but we're still enjoying working with them in the moment, and they're still allowing us to work with them.
And then what are their needs that you're experiencing, they're requesting going forward? Once you have them housed year 1, year 2, year 3, what are they asking for?
Most are asking for more behavioral health support, more medications to manage some of the symptoms, some of their traumas that they have. The one thing I'll say, the one thing that's universal that everyone we're working with is they have trauma, and it's untreated trauma. And that's not only counseling, but it's sometimes medication and healing their soul. And they're missing community. They're actually missing where can they fit in and connect with others and socialize and either work or just be a part of that part. And they're missing that part. And some are just missing, some are missing employment. We're really excited when we can help them with that. And some are missing the basics like, how do I get this wound that's been open for 2 years, maybe with a chance of healing up? So it is a variety of things, but it's kind of a multiple factors of like, and it's really what are they ready for in that moment? And some might be ready for recovery. So then we can access, detox services and help them along that journey. Some aren't ready for that, but we can kind of work with them on that journey towards that for them.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
One follow-up question. How many staff members do you have?
There'll be, when this team is staffed, there'll be a staff of 10. We were 2. So I'm excited that 2 years ago, now we're 10. And that's why we needed a new building.
Thank you.
That's just out of that building in McLaughlin. Like I said, we have 1,100 employees at Central City, but 10 in McLaughlin. Yeah, we're very excited.
I just have one question. So it sounds to me like you work primarily with individuals rather than families.
Correct.
I'm sure a family has come
All the
in-
time.
Yes. Do you have not to generalize people, but is there a certain age group that you find in your premises more than others, more senior citizens or younger kids?
No, we have folks that are just 18 and we have somebody who's probably 85. We have some pregnant folks, some couples, all the things. So we try to serve one of them and try to help them navigate where they can. But some of that navigation is really hard. Our system is sort of fragmented, like, oh, you're a family, go over there. And we're trying to be like, oh, let's at least try to get you there and try to be creative with those services. But some of our population is aging and their physical health needs and their like needs for more ADL skills, so toileting, all that stuff is growing. They've had 10 years on the street that can wear on them, and there's not a lot of in-home support that they can do. So they're teetering on that verge of being able to be independent and like get and shop for themselves or not. And so we're trying to help them get inside, but they're falling through a lot of the gaps. So that's why I talk about the bridge. A lot of who we're serving are people who have fallen through our gaps in care, and they're not quite bad enough here, but they really could benefit it. Or there's always kind of something, get this taken care of and then come back and we'll serve you. And so that's a lot of who we specialize in, folks that are like, oh, we're not quite ready for that. Come back when you're ready, or come back when you're more stable. We get a lot of those, and we're like, who's going to get them stable? They're not going to get themselves stable on the street. If they would have, they could have. If they could have, they would have a long time ago. So,
well, thank you for caring.
Yeah, I have one more. So take donations and things, of course, right?
Central City does, yeah.
Central City sound. Also, the other thing I want to know is because all the people you're mentioning, I see a lot of them have pets.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you got?
We got pet food, and I got a phone numbers of vets who will try to serve folks if I can, and not, and we don't always have that. Like there's a few vets that'll do some like camp-based care, but not a lot. There's not a lot that can do a sliding fee scale. So like sometimes we have to make hard decisions with people. I don't have to make it for them. They have to make hard decisions about, do I eat or do my pet eat? Do I do this or that? And that can be a really challenging thing. And that's a lot of what we do, is help them make informed decisions. We don't make any decisions. We let them know, like, that's a hard thing. Do you care for your child or your pet or yourself? Right. And like, we just witness that, and we make sure that they know some of their options so they can make the best informed decision about what's available to them in the moment, and try to help, like, support them in that navigation, which can be hard on staff to like witness maybe decisions we wouldn't agree for ourselves, but we're going to let folks make them, but that we at least know they know some of the options.
Great.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
Thanks.
Well, I'm quite impressed by the comprehensiveness of your services, and the fact too that you're, it's not like somebody comes in and then with them for a long time. You talked about people that had never accessed services before, or people that maybe drifted away, or people that, it's been a long time since you've seen them, because people don't move just in a steady step-by-step process toward wholeness and getting housed and all the rest. So as much as you are serving the whole person with a variety of services, and your comment about maybe they're not ready for this right now, but maybe they will be, and staying in touch, I think that's impressive.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
thank you for sharing with us, for helping us to understand and to be able to answer questions to the community who want to know a little bit more about this. So
cool.
Anything else from staff or from council?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Drew. All right. Next item on the agenda is a resolution regarding one of our rate structures. So staff, item 8.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. So as you're aware, Gladstone Disposal Company has an exclusive franchise agreement with the City of Gladstone. They provide our solid waste, yard debris, and recycling services within the city limits. And under the terms of the franchise, any rate adjustments are set by resolution with the approval of the Gladstone City Council. And the rates only apply to those who are receiving a service. So Will is here tonight. He approached me back in May about a rate adjustment proposal and 10%. Metro has done some increases recently, which has led to this increase. And so he's going to talk a little bit about the justification for the request.
Okay.
Good evening, Will. Thanks for coming. And
Yes, thank you
we
for
look
having
forward
me.
to hearing from you.
Well, good evening to you all. Thank you for welcoming us here tonight. My name is Will Mathias. I'm the CFO for B&B Leasing or Gladstone Disposal. I'm also here with Pam, our owner, who's in the back. And, you know, we've enjoyed a really wonderful partnership with the city of Gladstone for over 40 years. We are really grateful for the relationships that we have with the city, with city staff, with city council. So thank you again for having us here. So tonight we're here to present a rate adjustment request for your consideration. We went before council here a year ago for an adjustment, and I am confident that that adjustment would have sustained us through this year. However, Metro recently adopted or adjusted their rates 11.9%. That'll go into effect July 1. And disposal is the largest component of our cost structure by far. So it does have a very big impact on us and has accelerated the need to come in for a request of an adjustment. So let's see, I go ahead and move. Whoops. Okay. So this slide outlines the Gladstone ordinance, which establishes the franchise and provides specific criteria for evaluating rates, including cost of performing service, anticipated increases in cost, reasonable operating margin, and the one that I think is the easiest to kind of look at and make sense of, and that's comparing rates of other cities nearby. So we'll look at that here on this next slide. We're requesting a 10% adjustment to the rates. For most residents, this will result in a $3.37 increase per month on their bill. The proposed rate for a 35-gallon customer in Gladstone is $37.03 per month. When compared to other nearby cities, it's lower except for Oregon City, Westland, and Canby. Oregon City is a little closer to the transfer station, which makes a small difference in the rates. Canby, being outside the metro waste boundary, isn't as affected by those metro increases that have occurred the last few years. And then Westland and Canby also place more of a rate burden on their larger cart sizes. So while their 35-gallon rates are 94 cents and $2.73 lower respectively, their 95-gallon rates are $9.11 and $6.49 higher respectively. So again, much more of a push on the larger cart sizes in those cities, which makes a difference in the smaller cart size rates. The main reason, as I mentioned, for this increase is that Metro will be increasing their tipping fees by 11.9% starting July 1st. Over the past 4 years, Metro has implemented significant fee hikes, including 11.2% last year. However, this year, when the 11.9% adjustment was voted on, Metro took a cost of service approach to their adjustment. To explain that better, Metro staff had shared that they had been charging below the cost of service in their tip fee. So they adjusted to cost of service for this their fiscal year through the rate. And it's possible that because of that, future rate increases will be more reasonable than past ones, although I don't speak for Metro, but I'm hoping certainly that that's the case. We've had some big increases. Additionally, recycle costs have been on the rise since last year, particularly late in the year last year. There are various reasons for this. The primary one is that end markets are becoming more demanding when it comes to uncontaminated materials. China and India were the largest commodity buyers in years past, but they are accepting far less material than before. Excuse me. As a result, there's now more supply in the domestic markets, but demand hasn't really changed. So commodity values have gone down, which impacts the cost to the customer at the curb. The graphic on the screen shows the increase in the Metro tip fee since 2020. And then the recycle tip fee, which is based on commodity markets. You can see that it's gone down from 2020 to 2021, but then slowly climbed back up. We don't really know what it'll be for the full year in 2024. But for the moment, it's on par with last year. So trucks have also increased in cost. You can see on the graphic that what we paid for the same style truck in 2020, 2022, and 2024. So this has come from truck supply and demand driving up cost. There was a little bit of a logjam in truck deliveries for a couple of years. Now we're getting our deliveries, but we're not getting as many trucks as we've ordered in the past. They're more expensive, as you can see, and that's had an impact on us, of course. And that comes from, for the manufacturers, comes from supply chain disruptions, cost increases for labor and parts and things of that nature. And then finally, inflation increased by 4.9% this year, impacting many of our other costs. We also recently renegotiated our collective bargaining agreement for the first time since COVID. That increase for the first year was 6.9%, but that got the rates, our compensation for employees on track with other collective bargaining agreements that had been negotiated in the market in recent years. So before we move on to questions, we just want to express we're not fond of asking for rate adjustments, but it's a necessary aspect of doing business, and we strive to minimize cost and keep rates down for our cities. We really appreciate you considering our request. Thank you.
Well, thank you for sharing so many of the external things that you really don't have much control over that are affecting the cost of you doing business. So it helps us put that in perspective. As Drew alluded to, they're having a hard time finding people to work in the mental health outreach care kind of thing. I know restaurants, hospitality services, there's shortage of personnel. After COVID, there was so much where just about every business you could look at, people are saying we're having a hard time finding qualified people that want to work. Is that impacting your service as well? Do you have longtime employees that are sticking with you, or are people looking to go other places? Or
well, we do have longtime employees that really enjoy working at our company. Pam's wonderful to work for, and so we're fortunate to be in that position where we haven't had many leave, but we have had some for other opportunities that have come up. So we've experienced that a little bit, probably not as much as some other haulers have.
Well, I know the transit industry, they need bus drivers. And so I guess if you can drive a trash truck, you can drive a bus. That's my simplified way of looking at it. But I know that it is a competitive time for personnel and workforce. So I'm glad you are treating your people well and keeping them on board, and that you have those good relationships with them. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Are there questions from counselors? Counselor Alexander?
Not a question, but I can touch that because I've spoken to like 3 of your employees in the last couple of months. One was in Oregon City. You just acquired him from somewhere else. They couldn't be happier. They say it's the best company they've ever worked for. One guy worked for 15 years and came here and said he'll never leave. Any problem you ever have, you call them, they're out the next day, or they send a truck that day. I mean, they're outstanding service, outstanding company. And I personally go up to pay Esther every month. She is the face of that company when I walk in there, and she's outstanding, beautifully. So that just keep up the good work. I think you guys do a great job, and I know this is not your fault. What's going on? So yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Counselor Garlington?
I just, a little bit of clarity for me and someone who asked me. If a person opts out of service, do they still get yard debris and recycling and glass for free? And I said, no, I believe they pay this fee that was in the packet. So my question to you is, the yard debris can, and then just the recycling, does that include the glass and the big can that someone would have to pay for?
So we have rates that are less for someone who wouldn't want the garbage can, but just, if I understand your question correctly, would just want the yard debris or just the recycling. Those rates they are quite a bit less. So recycle only is it proposed to be $545 a month. And then yard debris, the yearly subscription, we do it as a yearly, but we prorated or whatever for, if someone
For the
didn't have
monthly
it the
people.
full year. But the yearly subscription is $81.07 proposed. So
Okay.
there are options for those who would like to do something different, don't want the garbage cart, or if even there are options for maybe like a monthly pickup for someone who wanted to do something like that instead.
So my bill at my house would be the $33. Sorry, I should have these. 33 or 3703. And then I would be plus the recycling and then the yard debris divided by 12.
So if you pay the 3703
Yes.
a month, that includes bundled into it is the recycling and yard debris. That's,
Okay.
it wouldn't be in addition to.
I wanted to, okay, perfect. So in some jurisdictions, opting out of garbage is not an option, but in Gladstone it is.
Well, there is always an option for someone to self-haul to the Metro transfer station or however they want to handle that. And then they would have the option to yard debris only or recycle only.
Okay, thank you for that. And thank you for serving Gladstone. We appreciate that at my house.
We're grateful for the opportunity to do it.
Will, can I ask you about what the lifetime of your fleet is and what your kind of your turnover rate is with that?
Yeah, so we usually replace a truck after about a 10 to 12 year period. It's now closer to the 12 because of we don't have the option of buying as many trucks as we did in the past. The demand is too high. So we're about a 12-year replacement cycle.
Okay. And where are you at in that? Or are you just kind of staggered? How does that look for you?
Oh,
guys?
we're staggered. We are. We do 2 to 3 trucks a year. And
Ideally or currently?
Currently.
Okay.
Currently. Previously, we did 3 to 4 trucks a year.
Okay.
So.
And I'd also like to add that one of the things that Will and I've discussed in 2025 is beginning the contract negotiations for the franchise agreement, because that will help them be able to forecast ahead of time equipment purchases for big capital items. So we're going to start having those conversations next year.
You're saying if they know they'll be serving a certain city for an extended period of time, then that will impact how they make those determinations.
Like 20 years,
Yeah,
correct?
yes. Okay.
Being as they're so long in between when we get to see each other, how is the Purple Bins program going?
So it's going well. We don't have a lot of signups in Gladstone. I would say probably about a dozen. So those who are signed up seem to be really happy with the program. Our company as a whole, we also serve Oregon City and parts of Clackamas County. I would say we probably have the most signups of the haulers in Clackamas County. So we've got a little more traction for some reason, which we're glad to have. We want the program to be successful. So.
Very good. Thank you. I appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you.
For the people that don't know what the Purple Bin program is, would you clarify, please?
Sure. Yeah, the Purple Bin program is a program you can opt into. It is you pay it, so it's a 18-gallon bin where we take products that we would call hard to recycle. So compact fluorescent bulbs, textiles, plastic film. We now take batteries for all customers. So that's not a part of I guess that came with the Purple Bin program, but that's for all customers. So, and then we take clamshells as well. And so these are items that are really hard to find outlets for. We have places that we take these materials to that have outlets for the materials. And And when we say opt-in, there is an additional charge for this program. So if someone wants the Purple Bin program, Recycle Plus, that would be $2.50 a month plus $9.25 per pickup. And usually customers don't have pickups very often. We've noticed that we'll get a pickup right away because they've probably collected these materials over time. But then they may not call in for another one for a month or two. And so some are more frequent users, but most, when I say most, 90% plus are probably going to have a pickup once every couple of months, 2 or 3 months. But the service is there for them. And the reason we charge $250 a month for the service, regardless of whether you have a pickup, is because there is a cost to the, having the bin out there for a customer and, providing the bags and things like that.
The schedule.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is the Recycle Plus program available to commercial accounts or just residential?
So right now it's not available to commercial accounts. It's just residential.
Thank you.
So.
Thank you for the reminder about the new battery program. I hope people know you don't just toss them in. You have a procedure for how you recycle batteries in a separate bag on top of the glass, I believe.
That's right.
So
And there are instructions on our website or on the Clackamas County website. We love for customers to do that, to utilize that. Batteries can commonly cause fires in our trucks and in our transfer stations. So the more that people utilize that program, put them in the Ziploc bag, put them in with the glass bin to be picked up, the better. That cuts down on those hazards.
well, thank you for informing us through your website and your billing and other things that go out to the community. All right, I'm ready to entertain a motion from a
Make a
council member.
motion?
Yes.
I make a motion to approve resolution 1236, amending exhibit A to resolution number 1223 by revising the solid waste rate structure schedule effective July 1st, 2024.
I will second that motion.
All right, it's been moved by Councilor Alexander and seconded by Councilor Roberts. Any further discussion? All right, call the roll, please, Haley.
Counselor Huckabee,
Yes.
Counselor Alexander,
Yes.
Counselor Blog,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes.
Counselor Roberts,
Yes.
Counselor Garlington,
Yes.
Mayor Milch.
Yes, resolution 1236 is approved unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, the little new stuff comes in. All right, next item, number 9, to consider a contract for annual slurry seal maintenance. I see our Public Works Director, Darren Canaparoli is here tonight to help us with this one. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. The city has a responsibility to maintain our public infrastructure and perform preventative maintenance work to prolong the quality of our streets. In a cooperative procurement action, the city of Hillsborough solicited for multi-city pavement management bids. Blackline Inc. was awarded the contract through this procurement process. The city of Gladstone is responsible to approve its own contract with Blackline Inc. as part of this procurement process. The cost to complete this work is $215,000. Staff recommends adding a 15% contingency, which would be $32,250 for a total amount not to exceed $247,250. This project will be funded from the budgeted operation, maintenance, and repairs in the street fund. Staff proposes the city council to award the bid as stated in the contract. Exhibit B includes the results from the city of Hillsborough's RFP process, and Exhibit C is a map of the Gladstone roadways, which will be included in the slurry seal project. All of these roads came up from our pavement management system. Those were not, nobody picked these roads. It was all done through the pavement management software. So we have two options. Option 1 is to approve the award of bid to Blackline Inc. in an amount not to exceed $247,250 to complete the pavement management program 2024 slurry seal project. And option 2 would be do not approve the award of bid to Blackline Inc. and decide not to proceed to complete the pavement management program 2024 slurry seal project.
Probably goes without saying, but I assume the reason we are doing it in connection with other cities is that there is some, value of doing it at a higher scale. That this is something that we would get less expensively than if we tried to go out and just get a contract for our city alone.
That is correct. I believe there was 5 cities that were involved in the contract for that. Added quantities, lower price. So.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you followed that procedure. Gives us something to consider. Any questions from counselors?
I just had one, when you were speaking earlier, you said, but Gladstone's gonna go, so we're gonna do a contract with the city of Hillsborough, or we're gonna do a contract with Black Line?
The contract will be with Blackline. So the city of Hillsborough does all the procurement for everything. And then each individual city has to have their contract with Blackline based off the prices from the procurement.
So because they did that with everyone, we're getting a discount.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Not a question, but a comment. Thank you so much for this. Pavement management is a subject that is as simple as it is exciting. And I think it's really, I think that the strategy the city's taking is wonderful. Thank you for your leadership on that. Thank you for communicating that to the community, because our approach is counterintuitive, but it is smart, it is modern, it is cost effective. And so thank you for the messaging that we've been able to explain this to our citizens. I really appreciate it.
Mine was the same comment as Counselor Cook's, just a really clear flyer put together here. And coming into this initially, when we were first learning about pavement condition indexes, I didn't completely understand it until we really got rolling with it. But this answers every question I had to begin with. So this is very thorough. Thank you for putting that together.
Good.
At this time.
All right, I think we are ready for a motion.
Okay. I would move to award the bid to Blackline Inc. to complete the pavement management program 2024 slurry seal project for the not to exceed cost of $247,250.
It's been moved by Counselor Roberts. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Counselor Blaud. Any further discussion? All right.
Counselor Huckabee,
Yes.
Counselor Alexander,
Yes.
Counselor Blog,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes.
Counselor Roberts,
Yes.
Counselor Garlington,
Yes.
Mayor Milch.
Yes, the recommendation is approved. So go fix those streets. All right. Last item on the regular agenda is an update on the use of the American Rescue Plan Act funds. Item 10.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. I believe we have our finance consultant, Kathy Brucker, joining us this evening. She's going to give us just a brief overview of the balance remaining on the American Rescue Plan Act funds. Just as you recall, we must obligate the funds by the end of December 2024. However, we have until the end of December 2026 to spend them. So with that, Kathy, I'll let you give just a brief overview.
All right, thank you very much. As you all know, we received these ARPA funds back in, oh my goodness, it was in 2021, a total of $2,737,344. We have been to you several times regarding what our suggested expenditure of these funds would be. And we have been able to utilize all funds other than appropriate all funds other than $254,227 left. What we do recommend from the last allocation to this allocation is an additional $28,000 that we would like to allocate to the community school, $5,000 to the Historical Society, and then the remaining balance of that to go towards the general fund revenue recovery. You can see from our schedule as far as what the adopted budget was for the 23-25 year. and then what we have actually spent to date through May 31st of 2024, which amounted to $748,091 that we have spent of those funds, with the the majority of the balance allocated out to date. Any further questions about that?
As I recall, Kathy, one of the biggest chunks was for some infrastructure work. You've indicated we've allocated, but haven't necessarily spent. So I imagine that also one of the places where funds are still to be spent is the continuation of some of that water and sewer infrastructure work where we allocated a large amount.
Yes, of course, sir. That was the I&I project. It's allocated between the sewer fund and the stormwater fund. And we have allocated a total of 840,000 towards the sewer side and 360,000 towards the stormwater fund for that entire project.
And that project is ongoing, so there's an expectation that will all be spent by the spending deadline, but we've committed it to that for now.
Yes, we have.
I've read a lot of articles about different cities across the country because this was a very rare kind of a one-time influx of federal money to cities with, in some cases, not real strict requirements on how it was used. And different cities chose to use it different ways. And we've made some decisions that I think will benefit the citizens of this community in good ways. Some of those decisions were made by prior councils than this one. But I'm glad we do have that option of assigning it to the general fund because as a whole, the city kind of lost some revenue and had some shortfalls just because of COVID. And that was the reason for this being there in the first place.
Yes.
We're not squirreling it away into a slush fund. We are legitimately
Oh,
using
don't say
it.
slush in front of Kathy.
Did you see me twitch?
Yes, I did. All right. I just want the community to understand. But I do appreciate that we actually have also some specific recommendations. So I'll open it up to other counselors for comments and questions too about this.
Yeah, I have a question about the second point of this, $5,000 to the Gladstone Historical Society. I know that this was one of the ideas that we had talked about during that October work session. I'm curious, Administrator Betts, did we receive a formal request from, I believe this is a 501c3 organization? Did they explain exactly what this money was used for, or did we give an opportunity to any other local nonprofits to request some of this ARPA funding?
No, and that's part of why I put this back into the staff report, because it was unofficially discussed in October of 2023. The request came out of a meeting with Kim Huey, who is part of the Gladstone Historical Society. They expressed a desire for the city to store their artifacts for them, and we had no room in our buildings to do that. They have many artifacts in many homes throughout the community, and I had suggested that maybe they research a storage unit. I have not received a formal proposal, and if this is something that the city council wants us to continue to pursue, I would prefer that that come from a majority of the council. Otherwise, we can take that off of this list and they can pursue other options for funding for that.
I think if we're going to consider contributions to 501c3 organizations within Gladstone, I think for the purposes of being fair, open, and transparent, I think we should offer that opportunity to all 501c3s that operate in Gladstone. I think there's the need for the food bank, the community clothes closet, Clackamas Bookshelf. I can think of lots of local organizations who might want to be considered. And so I just want to make sure we're being fair and equitable in how we're approaching the situation.
And a lot of that is the reason why we have yet established a program for the businesses. Marcy is creating a facade improvement program for businesses on Portland Avenue. And so we want to do this thoughtfully and correctly so that there is equitable distribution or access to those funds. So I'm fine if if the city decides that let's take this off of the recommendation. But the reason I did bring it to your attention is because I did not feel like I had the authority to spend that money because it wasn't vetted with the council and a majority received vote.
Yeah, and to be clear too, I think we should, if this is something we want to consider, we should consider it and maybe put out a call to local 501c3s and say, hey, we do have some ARPA funding that we can consider, micro grants to projects that you may have. I just want to make sure it's not perceived as an arbitrary decision by the council or by the city, but it's something where every local organization has the opportunity to make a proposal.
If I can touch that, the reason they brought it up like that, because if you go in the back room, you see the chairs. We've got enough Gladstone history going back a lot of years. That's getting ruined right now as we speak in garages and things. So I started looking for climate control storage. And I think, Mayor, you mentioned that, we would need a place or look for a place to keep our stuff. And so that's why this was up. It wasn't, we are the nonprofit, but it wasn't, like the food pantry, we got food pantry taken care of. Anything that comes up, we need to address. This is just sort of a critical issue with right now, I can name 5 garages that have a lot of deteriorating Gladstone history in it. So that's why we wanted to get it official. What your idea is good too, to go on with, but if we could get this official, we can start, I can go with my truck and start collecting it and getting it into the storage. That was the reason for this, is what I just said, Yeah.
Councilor Huckabee?
Do we know if this 501c3 has reached out to other entities for grants because they are a 501c3?
I don't have that information, no.
Thank you.
Councilor Garlington?
In answer to your question, I've never seen a grant that would be given for storage. I also agree with what you're saying in that I'd like to, I know that we've got money for the food bank this year. Where are they? What doesn't that cover? Can we help them out? Also, public sector revenue loss. Can we get a little more specific about that?
Back when we first received this grant monies, there were formulas that we were able to apply to I believe it was 2 years of revenue during COVID time, as far as to pinpoint where our revenue had decreased because of the impact from the pandemic. And it was a very long formula that we went through on all of that. We did present that back to the council back in 2021, I believe it was. And that is how that revenue loss was calculated. It was not a willy-nilly number at all. It was very methodically calculated based on specific areas. It did not, like one area that was not included was utility rates. But many of the areas, such as our business licenses, our transient lodging tax, those types of revenues that were, we suffered reduction in due to the pandemic directly.
Okay, well,
that answer your question?
It does. I don't think, I think I'd like to have a lot more discussion about this. Of course, I will go with the council, but I think that we could have a little bit more discussion about the last of these funds.
And just as a reminder, we're not spending them, we're allocating them to the general fund. So if you wanted to talk about spending them, you could do that in the next biennium budget process. And that's the difference. We still have funds allocated here that haven't been spent. Like we said, we've got money available for the business relief assistance. And we also have some that's still going to the St. Vincent de Paul program. We also have the I&I money that the mayor had mentioned. And so we're not talking about spending them all. We're just talking about obligating them so that when Kathy fills out her reporting requirements at the end of this year, we can say that they have been obligated.
Exactly. And also too, as far as the monies that are allocated to the general fund revenue recovery, that is usable then at a later, can be allocated out from the general fund revenue at a later time. We have to have it obligated by December of 2024. But as far, once it's obligated into the general fund revenue recovery, there is an ability to be able to allocate that out more specifically after that time. And one of the notes that as the mayor was mentioning, some of the requirements were loosened up quite a bit after these ARPA funds were first dispersed. If you were a city that received or an entity that received under $10 million, you had the ability to say it's all revenue recovery with basically full use of being able to spend it as long as it did not apply to, you could not apply it towards your retirement, your unfunded retirement liability. You could not apply it to debt service. And then there was one other item that
Utility rates.
Tax reductions.
Yeah.
Yes. So those were the only areas that were more or less off limits. If you were under 10 million, as we certainly were, you basically had a wide open spectrum of how you were able to spend that money. So with it being allocated to a general fund revenue recovery, as I say, we have the ability then to use that within the general fund with not a tremendous amount of restrictions.
So just to clarify, if whatever money is uncommitted as of this action, so kind of everything in that step 3, that would go into the general fund, and then that how to use those funds, how to spend those funds would essentially be determined by the budget committee at the next budget cycle.
Yes.
Great.
I one more.
Oh, go ahead.
The $28,000 going to the school district, I see that there's an agreement you have here. So I guess my question is, I wasn't quite really clear about, is that agreement the standard yearly agreement that we work with them? Or are we giving the school district $28,000 in kind? Was this something that was already budgeted for and now we're going to take it out of a different pot of money?
So I put a little bit of history in the staff report that helped explain why we're requesting this. This agreement was in place prior to COVID. And it's agreement between the Gladstone School District and the city of Gladstone. They hired the staff to oversee the community school program. That means that they market, they get the instructors, they have the employees that do that because the city was not able to provide that service. So in exchange, they are also allowed to use the community center at a discounted rate for the space for a lot of the classes that we offer during the program. During COVID, we paused the agreement because the center was closed and the school district was doing less classes during COVID. But the city had always paid to the district the $23,000 for the program. We actually have not paid since 2017. And I'm glad that the school district isn't asking us for retro funds for this. This will be implemented July 1. They've been running the program for the last 2 years and the city has not been paying them for it. They have not been paying us for the use of the center. So both of those will go back into effect beginning July 1st. So the $28,000 is something that we used to budget for prior to COVID. We have not in the last biennium. It qualifies for the COVID replacement funds to fund it for this year. And then in the next biennium, the city will once again budget to the school district these funds out of the community center funding.
Thank you.
Councilor Huckabee.
Thank you. I feel that some of but we're receiving some false comparisons in regards to the community school and the food pantry. I recall one thing we discussed, or actually Counselor Garlington, you said at our October meeting, was that ARPA funds need to go to help the community, right? The food pantry is community. The community school is all community. And I just feel that the Gladstone Historical Society is in fact a special interest group. So.
Well, I'll tell you, then that's something we can have a discussion right now. Is it? I mean, you go to other cities, you go into their historical society, museums and homes and things. That's their history. So is it the council's responsibility? Is our history our responsibility, or is it just a special interest that we have artifacts from, 200 years ago that are here and still here? I mean, I don't know. I guess we've never talked about that, the Historical Society. We've just always been gathering. We got a lot of stuff from a lot of people that passed on that picture, right? I mean, we have a history. Is it Gladstone's responsibility, our history, to take care of it and keep it nice? Or is it just,
If
just
it was
let
a
it go,
s-
let these things deteriorate and disappear? And where's our history 50 years from now, 100 years from now?
I think that's a great question. I think that if the council and if the city of Gladstone is going to invest taxpayer money in supporting a 501c3 that will tell the story of Gladstone, I think we have a responsibility to make sure that that is the true history of Gladstone that represents all people and the true holistic experience of all Gladstonians. And I think that's a bigger conversation than we probably want to get into tonight. But I think, yeah, I think that's a bigger conversation than we want to get into tonight. But I think that the very general ask of $5,000 to the Gladstone Historical Society for storage of artifacts, I think at the very least, we should have a formal proposal with a specific breakdown of where those funds would be allocated to and what specific artifacts we would be paying to preserve. I think there's a lot of different ways to invest in telling the story of Gladstone. I think another potential way would be to install a plaque by the Clackamas River to educate people about the Native people who've lived here. There's a lot of different ways to honor Gladstone history. So I think we can't really, I don't think it's fair to ask council to make a decision based on this general ask of $5,000 for artifacts without having a formal proposal that's very specific about what the Historical Society is looking for. And then also, if we're considering proposals from 501c3 organizations, I can think of lots of other 501c3 organizations that serve the community very well. Clackamas Bookshelf does a fantastic job helping children's literacy in Clackamas County, which, if you listen to the school board meetings, like there is challenging things happening right now to children's literacy and children's education. So I think there's a lot of ways that we can invest in our community. I think that instead of making a trigger decision based on a general statement, I think we need more information, and I think we should take a fair and equitable approach.
Well, that's fair enough. I could have Kim Ely. I mean, everybody reads the Gladstone News every month, right? And you see her historical thing, right? And she's pretty accurate and pretty, on top of that. I could probably set up with her to come give a,
I think it's turning into a large project now that we're talking about this, if we're gonna open this up. So I don't want to commit, I mean, we would be committing staff time to something larger. But I'll shut up now. I've said my piece.
Well, I'll say, I appreciate that staff brought this up and included in the suggestions of action we could take tonight, because it was discussed at an earlier meeting and you wondered whether that obligation was out there or whether it really was an obligation. If we were to decide to eliminate recommendation 2 from the list of recommendations and not include the Gladstone Historical Society allocation tonight, we could, as an option, develop some kind of a system for requesting it more formally and then deal with it formally at another meeting along with other requests that might come in. I think we're not ruling it out altogether by eliminating it tonight from the specified allocations, if that were the action that we were to take. So I think we've talked about it. I think we should entertain a motion, and whatever we do tonight, by putting this money into the general fund, we will have to come up with a way to spend it by the end of the following biennium. And that's where procedures and comparison the relative value of certain programs and approaches, that's where that discussion will take place.
Is there motion language? Is that what we're looking for, a motion? There's no,
I'm only
there's no
comfortable with
motion
number
language.
one, repaying the school district. Other than that, I think that this all deserves a little bit lengthier conversation.
So dealing with the ARPA funding outside of the typical budgetary process.
Yes, well, I just think that 200 plus $1,000 deserves a little bit more conversation before we start moving money around and it gets lost in the general fund. I'm all about making sure that the school district is made whole from a promise that we've already made. I'd never want to, but other than that, I'm not comfortable going forward.
I kind of had that train of thought too. And then I thought, sorry, you're going to laugh at me. I'm laughing at myself. And then I was like, yeah, if we're going to spend all this money, we should have community involvement. We should like listen to what they want to do. And then I was like, oh, I just invented the budgetary process. So totally get you. I think we're on the same page. I think I'm comfortable with both 1 and 3 because I really see us giving those funds to the general fund is really just saying, hey, let's get community input. Let's get, our budgetary committee involved. But I understand where you're coming from as well.
Councillor Blau?
I also was like, if we don't allocate the remaining funds into our general fund, we are required to act before the end of the year. And that doesn't seem like a very long period of time to bring in other community interests and various other things. So I would support 1 and 3.
All right. I'm feeling similar things myself. Do we want to have a motion that we can really kind of react to?
Well, I'd like to
Can I
get a
ask Kathy-
clarification.
Okay.
I have a question for Kathy. If we were to look at this on the budget, after we've put it into the general funds, is this a separated line item where we can track where this money's going?
Absolutely, we can make it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, my question would be, well, then we have to get some kind of order to where are we gonna give any of this money to any nonprofits? And if we are, is there gonna be a process they have to do, come and apply and ask? Or are we just not gonna give any money to the nonprofits, whether it helps the city or not? I mean,
No,
we gotta come
I
up with some-
I was feeling that rather than designate one specific one tonight, that we I'm hearing a sense that that business improvements, nonprofits, there's a lot of different ways this money could be spent. That would be part of our budget process and part of our ongoing just goal setting and setting of values of what's important to the city. So we're not eliminating any group by leaving that particular group out tonight.
Okay.
Including that group. We're not eliminating them
I just
for the
want to
potential.
be there for the
Yes.
process going forward, like.
Yeah.
Something we'd like this much money and we've got some money to give out that they'd have to come and present it and we'd say if we wanted to or not.
Right.
Okay, just
right.
as long as there's something. on that.
I think I'm hearing that's what we want to do.
Okay.
So would someone like to put forward a motion that would, go ahead,
I have one more
Councilor
question.
Garlington.
So is the $5,000 that's not going to the Historical Society, is that then going into the general fund as well?
Yeah, if we eliminate number 2, it's just number 3 says staff proposes the remaining balance. So the remaining minus 28 rather than the remaining minus 33, which would be the combined of the 2.
Okay.
So that would be my understanding of that. So would someone like to make a motion? And you can use the staff recommendation to word that into a motion to recommend to the city.
I move that we direct staff to approve the allocation of $28,000 from ARPA funding to pay for the Gladstone Community School Program for July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025, and authorize staff to amend the agreement to update the name of the center and authorize signature. I also move that we direct staff to propose, oh my gosh, that got convoluted. Also direct staff to use the remaining balance of ARPA funding to replace up to oh my Lord, that got messy.
The dollar amount is $226, $226,277. That
Thank
would
you,
go
Kathy.
to general fund allocation.
Thank you, Kathy. Additionally, direct staff to move the remaining balance of $226,277 obligated to the general fund to replace public sector revenue loss.
I second.
All right, that's pretty specific. Thank you very much. It has been moved and seconded. We've had the discussion, and I think we will remember going forward that we have not eliminated any group from getting any of this. We've just put off the decision of when to allocate it and spend it. But we've held it in reserve, and it brings us up to date on where we are, which is part of why it was requested that we discuss this tonight. All right, any further discussion before we call the roll? Haley, go ahead.
Counselor Huckabee.
Yes.
Counselor Alexander.
Yes.
Counselor Blog.
Yes.
Counselor Cook.
Yes.
Counselor Roberts.
Yes.
Counselor Garlington.
No.
Mayor Milch.
Yes. Thank you, Kathy Brucker, for always having the answers and for guiding us through this process tonight. We are greatly appreciative. The motion has passed. All right. Let's see. Administrator Betts, is there any business carried forward to add to tonight's meeting?
I have nothing. Thank you.
Were there any requests for business from the audience, Haley?
No.
Okay, so we move to business from the council. We'll go one by one. And I'll start at my right. We've done everything 1 through 7 tonight, so we'll just do that again. So Councilor Huckabee, we'll start with you.
Thank you. Couple of things I wanted to touch on. I attended the recent Community Center Advisory Council, and in your packet, you will see the brand new logo that they have voted in. I just want to give a big shout out to Haley for helping with that. And Marcy or Michelle, sorry, which one? Both, all three of them. It is so wonderful, and it encompasses all of what Gladstone is and the desires of the committee. Let's see. They already left, but I wanted to thank Bryce and Dr. Bob for the arts fair. It was so cool, and I got to purchase this large welcome stone that was hand painted with welcome and cherry blossoms, and it's absolutely beautiful. Probably not something I would have gone to look for on my own. So it was a nice little treasure to find. Also, I want to compliment the community center. It is Juneteenth coming up on Tuesday, the 19th. And I was in, as well as some of our other counselors in the community center last week, and they have set up a Juneteenth wall that has some great information on it, prominent historical figures. I want to say thank you for that. And then also the community center is just on it right now. They hosted Taylor Stewart from the Oregon Remembrance Project today at a lunch and learn in honor of Juneteenth as well. Lastly, since we're just on the pattern of Juneteenth, this Saturday, there's going to be Juneteenth at Max Patterson Park, the first time ever in Gladstone. The time is kind of staggered in between Milwaukee and Oregon City. So we will be going from 4 to 7. There are food trucks, there's live music. Dr. Johnny Lake will be our guest speaker. Vanessa Hartman will be there. Sarah Sanderson will be there. So please check it out. This is really exciting that the community has moved this far to be able to have this celebration there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Alexander.
Not much to say. We're gonna have a work session, but then that won't be an official city council meeting. So everybody have a safe and common sense 4th of July, please.
Well put.
Councilor Blau, welcome.
Thank you. I don't really have anything to add. Just thank you all for voting for me up here.
Counselor Cook.
Congratulations, Counselor Blog. And thank you to John Kilstrom, Andrew Labont, and Maria Mitchell. Really grateful. I spent a very long time with my packet, considering luckily we had 4 phenomenal candidates. And I'm so grateful that our community has 4 people who were all qualified and all brought a different set of skills to this process. I'm just grateful. Thank you. Thank you. I heard an idea from a community member today that I wanted to share. So this is just kind of for fun, but I thought it was very cool. Barb Coffee posted in a Facebook group today about an idea they had to help with the library moving from its old location to a new location. Have you heard of this?
Keep going.
I know just what they need. We need more ideas happening with the library. So her idea is to have a book brigade, like an old timey fire brigade with the buckets, and just line up community members across the street and we'll just hand books back and forth. While it may not be practical to move the entire library through that process, I think it might be a fun idea for our ribbon cutting to maybe have that last shelf or last 4-foot section of books have a line of community members who over the years have contributed to the making of the new Gladstone Library, be part of the book brigade. I just thought that was a phenomenal idea. Thank you, Barb Coffee. So someone maybe can put an ear in somebody who can maybe think about that.
I think somebody already did that's sitting next to you. And I know that the library is very open.
Oh, is
to-
this like an already discussed idea? Oh my God, shut up. I love this. Shut up. Okay, well, this is old news. Okay, but I thought that was so cute. Okay. Well, old news, here we're moving forward. Community celebrating Juneteenth. Juneteenth, if you're unfamiliar, commemorates the effective end of slavery in the US, roughly 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. I'm grateful to our community members who are volunteering their time to celebrate Black history and ongoing Black culture and excellence. It is really cool that the timing is like Milwaukee, Gladstone, Oregon City. If you just want to have like a Juneteenth day, you can just start in Milwaukee and drive south. June is also Pride Month, where we celebrate the joy and inherent worth of our queer neighbors and community members. Happy Pride Month and happy Juneteenth. It's a time to remember our history, celebrate our bright futures, and acknowledge that nobody is free until everybody is free.
Counselor Roberts.
Thank you, Mayor. Much like Councilor Alexander, I wish everyone a happy and safe 4th of July. Hopefully not getting up to anything too crazy. Congratulations to Councilor Blaug. Good to have more people up here. And was it last week on Wednesday, I had the opportunity to tour our new library with Councilors Alexander Garlington and Administrator Betts, and that was fantastic. Really a culmination of all the community's work far before I was here. So I can't take any credit for it, but it was fabulous to be a part of the walkthrough group. So very excited to see things like that happening in Gladstone. I told every person at our Metro Mixer that night about it, how excited I was about our library. So we're doing good things here. That's all. Thank you.
Counselor Garland.
Well, I'd like to say thank you to our mayor who held down the fort at the Metro Mixer so that we could all be over at the library, and he opened up the evening. So we do appreciate that and allowing us to go over and take a sneak peek. That was a lot of fun. 4th of July, don't forget there's hot dogs. That's always fun. It's fun to see the faces of all of our police force and our fire department and all of that serving everybody food. And it's such a well-received afternoon. I think a lot of people just really have a good time, and it's well worth everybody's time to go up and say hi to a neighbor you never met before, you know, or even as counselors, having a word with someone that's on one of our boards or commissions that maybe we never got a chance to talk to. So I challenge you all for that. Welcome, Counselor Blog. I'm glad to see this a full setting. That's kind of exciting too. I will miss Counselor Huckabee, I'm sorry. Veronica, Veronica, it is the V that gets me. Her and I have worked together, have worked together in the past on so many heartfelt park projects, and I'm I miss having her around to talk about plants. So that's kind of, I feel bad that we're losing her. Council Alexander and I sat in on a Clackamas Fire meeting, as was in our weekly report from our administrator. It was a really good meeting. Clackamas Fire has just nothing but all heart for Gladstone. And I wish I was a parent of a kindergartner so I could go to the little open house and get a sticker. Yeah, okay. I too got to go to the arts fair. I am the proud owner of a crab bowl from the high school. So I was really excited and to get that. And they were even shocked that I would buy something from them or anybody would, and they were really excited about it. And I thank the high school students for chairing a table of arts and crafts for the kids. That was such an added plus, that the kids weren't just drug around to look at art that's maybe a little older than they are. They really got to do hands-on things. So I was telling Bryce after I talked to him the next day, I said, you know, project, anything like this, like the Juneteenth celebration and every festival that Gladstone has, they grow. We just have to attend them, wait for the next year, and everything, it's all going to grow. And that is the best thing about Gladstone. And I want to again thank the city for backing that with a check to different organizations to help them make events better for everyone. It means a lot. I can tell you that. I want to bring everyone's attention to a number that I saw in our book when we were talking about the community center. The community center logged 586 hours of volunteerism last month. That is the equivalent of 14.65 full-time employees. That is a lot of volunteer people. And I cannot thank the people who are at the senior center enough for caring about your community to put in that many hours. I know that that's not 586 people. I am certain that that is a dedicated group of probably senior citizens themselves that are still able to be out there and help. And it means the world to the person that you're reaching out to. So my thanks for that. I got to go down to the luncheon today and listen to the gentleman from the Oregon Remembrance Project. And when we were talking about the money for the senior center, one of the things that he said is, what will you do with the history you have been handed? And I think that there's two ways to look at that. The history that's in people's hearts, that's in books, that's in the stories that people tell down through the generations. And then I think that we have to also acknowledge the items that we own that have been entrusted from the people before us in Gladstone. I think it's important that we, as residents, help the Historical Society, who works so hard to keep Gladstone's story alive. And I'm not sure how that help is going to come around, but I think that that group of people who work just as hard as every other volunteer group in Gladstone, I think it's important that we find a path for them and all of these belongings. I know that there are people who have garages that are full of books and things like that, and that's not where we want their things, our things. Steve and I travel a lot through Oregon. And one of the things that we always do, because my husband loves a museum, is we go to museums. And a lot of little towns have them. And they are a lot of fun and they are well received. And I don't think that Gladstone, I'm going to rephrase that. I think that Gladstone could have a place somewhere in our city that would help show who we are. And that's not just the past, but we are writing our history as we speak. And to include that, I think that's important. So I think that's about it. Oh, I would just want to say with the LOC Oregon, I had sat on the Community and Economic Development Group. Basically, what we do is spend many hours talking about different policies and procedures and items that we want to lobby for in the state of Oregon and what's important. And there's 4 or 5 different groups that come together, and then each group decides on 3 to 4 items, and then they get them all together and they come to all of you, and you're going to get to vote on it. And I just want to say I spend a lot of hours combing through what's important to what I felt was important to Gladstone and what could be important to Clackamas County. One of the things that we talked about was that navigator. The navigators, yeah, not the nurse, but the first one that we talked about with the Clackamas community. Yeah, and it's a big program, and it's bigger around us than we all know. Anyway, those voting items are going to come to you guys, and I really hope that you will take the time to help the League of Oregon Cities decide what you feel our state should back. And we're that voice, we're that vote. So if you could take the time to do that, I would appreciate it. Don't forget to sign up for the festival. Although I think Bryce said we were all the ones that had right now.
Call your friends.
Call your friends. Okay, there's a challenge. Everybody call a friend and get them to sign up to volunteer at the festival at the blow up, whatever. Thank you all. At the what? I'm always yeah. Oh, yeah.
Am I saying that wrong?
No, that's-
No.
You don't want
but-
that one.
No, I don't want that
Sign up
one.
early so you
I
can
like to go watch that one because I,
To run it, not be on.
huh? Oh,
I know, I know.
John and Nick won't do it this year? How come?
No reason, they're just not.
able to do it.
Oh my.
Darn.
Thing is, the kids line up. They love it though.
Well,
My turn.
Yes, Mayor.
All right. So Veronica Reichel, Councilor Veronica Reichel had been our council liaison to the Park and Recreation Board, which met last night. So last night was their first meeting without her present this round. So I attended just to kind of get caught up on what's going on. There were 2 great presentations to start the meetings from 2 local groups, regional groups, I should say. One of them, the Gladstone Garden Association, which is the nonprofit group that oversees the community garden. 5 acres of community garden, 133 plots, some of which are designated to, storing things like compost and other stuff, but about 120 of which are for individual users. And they are almost all, I think maybe with one exception, all spoken for by people, mostly Gladstone residents who are part of this organization. And the new officers of that group were there to sort of just help the Parks Board, as they were sitting up here, understand a little bit more about that organization and how they value that space at Meldrum Bar Park and how it's kind of a unique thing. You don't see community gardens on that scale in public parks very often. So that was real good to hear, to get that feedback and to get some, to let them share some of their ideas and dreams for how we could enhance that program in the future to serve more people. One of the other presentations was from another group called the Clackamas Water Trail Project. It's one of the many river and water related advocacy organizations that really help people understand the importance of our rivers, the recreational opportunities that are there, the way that they serve and provide us with fresh drinking water. And they have offered to develop some signage to help people in communities up and down the Clackamas River to have a greater understanding of the river's role in their communities. And they wanted to put one of these signs at High Rocks, one at Cross Park, and one at Doll Beach here in Gladstone. So it was also good to hear from that organization and to have that offer come to us. They also discussed other parks and groups and things in our community that will require more discussion and more engagement, but will, it's one more example of volunteers in the city finding the area where they really want to help listen and suggest and advise the council in ways that we put our great park system to work in this community. I'm glad that we got to host that Metro Mixer. I saw more Metro staff in one place than I've ever seen and found out how comprehensive and broad the scope of work is that they do. Administrator Betts and I will both this coming weekend be attending a 2-day C4 retreat, Clackamas County Coordinating Committee, made up of representatives from cities in Clackamas County who look at ways of addressing some of the big issues that affect us, and like the League of Oregon Cities, tries to make recommendations to our legislators on how these issues should be dealt with across the state. And not surprisingly, the two big issues coming up for discussion have to do with housing and transportation. We've kind of, I also watched online the first of the many transportation subcommittee, not subcommittee, the Joint Transportation Committee roadshow that's going on across the state of Oregon in preparation for this coming legislative term to look at how we will fund and how we will structure our transportation department across the state. We looked at tolling. People weren't too happy about that, especially here in Clackamas County. But we've got to figure out some way to bridge some of the gaps in the cost of maintaining our transportation system, and maybe new ways of really, how we consider how we prioritize mobility and accessibility and all the factors that relate to transportation. I'm glad to see our school board representative attending tonight, Matt Parkin, who listens in and helps maintain that good relationship that we have with our school district. They will be meeting tomorrow night. Is that correct? Or are things different because of?
We moved things for graduation.
That's right.
8th grade graduation tomorrow and high school on Thursday.
Okay, and that's another outstanding event in this community, of course, are all those promotional ceremonies that celebrate the progress of young people moving through this great school system we have. So I believe that's all I have for tonight. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
May I interrupt?
You may.
I think we have one more item on the agenda. Council agenda. There's a council agenda planning document. I would like to propose adding an item to the work session that's coming up on July 23rd.
Oh, we can do that. Let's see. Or we can at least,
we can talk about
propose it to staff. Yes, we'll see how it works.
So here's my proposal. So City of Gladstone, in recent history, has not had a process for considering proclamations. All of our neighboring communities have a process for community members to request a proclamation. I think one of our council goals is engagement, listening, and building trust with the community. I think Gladstone, the reality is that Gladstone has some repair work to do to make sure that all of our citizens feel seen and welcome in Gladstone. I think that having a process so that citizens can request proclamations for Juneteenth, Military Appreciation Month. There are lots of holidays that I think the city of Gladstone could take a greater role in being involved in supporting. And I think that I would like to discuss that with the council on July 23rd.
All right, we'll turn that over to Administrator Betts. If you can work that into the schedule and we can talk about it a little bit in advance.
Well, just clarification, which meeting? I'm sorry, did you say July or June?
I said July 23rd.
Okay.
And I would be happy, Jackie, you are so busy. I would be happy to maybe put together a draft. There are, again, many of our neighboring communities already have a process for considering proclamations. So I could maybe put together a draft, maybe work with you and then present it to council at a work session for feedback.
Yeah, if a majority of the council wants to add this to the work session, we can do that.
Okay, we've got a couple things on the agenda for that night. Councilor Huckabee?
Just say yes.
Okay. All right. I don't think we have we usually skip August, right?
We're skipping August to give a summer break for the elected officials. The July 23rd agenda items are lengthy. I will just say those
Okay.
two items are. But the first, what you need to do is to get a majority that they want it to be added to a future agenda. And then I can try to strategize which one is the best to do that at.
Would that be acceptable to you to just?
Yeah, certainly.
Okay, all right. I think we don't want to be here till 10 o'clock. If it just happens that the next meeting is one where we do have some bigger items. So if it's appropriate to fit it in to another place, is there some consensus that we can talk about that at a future meeting? And yes, Councilor Garlington?
So it sounds to me like what we would like to do is to build a,
Just build a
verbiage,
process. Yeah.
build a process. That's staff time.
It is staff time. I think it would
Okay.
be really minimal if we don't reinvent the wheel. You can look at our neighboring communities. If you just Google Oregon proclamation process city,
Mhm.
like literally, like I Googled like city Oregon proclamation process. Most cities have a process already established. So I
Yes.
think that I'd be happy to take a look at several of those, maybe create a rough draft, review it with Jackie and probably Chad to make sure we're not getting into a lot of trouble. And then propose it to council. But I don't think it's a heavy lift. I think that the impact could be great. I think, having a, Earth Day proclamation and then inviting the Friends of the Gladstone Nature Park to be involved in that. I think it could help build relationships, build trust, and I think it could provide a great value to the city without spending very much money.
And I agree with you wholly. What I don't want to do is add onto staff time more work that they don't have, that's not already budgeted in our list here.
Yeah.
So I thank you for, coming forward and saying, I'm willing to do that work.
Yeah.
And so if our administrator picks whatever meeting she feels we can fit it into, that's where I think it should go.
Totally. And what we could do too is part of the proposal could be working with Jackie to determine on an ongoing basis how much staff time we expect this to take up if this is a direction that the city decides to move in, so that we have an educated understanding of what that could mean.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I have
Alright.
a question about that.
Yes.
Okay, like right now, here you go. This is in the community. The city newsletter talked about Pride Month and Juneteenth, right? What's the purpose of wasting any staff time to make a proclamation about it?
I think there's two things that come to mind immediately.
Okay.
I think that the only reason that Juneteenth and Pride and some of these cultural celebrations are included is because one individual advocated for that from a place of power. So either a city councilor, the mayor, someone within the city realizing, hey, it's Juneteenth, we should include this in the newsletter. The problem is that citizens, if we have a local veterans group that says, hey, May is Military Appreciation Month, we didn't do anything for Military Appreciation Month in May. Maybe we would have if citizens knew, hey, we can get together, we can come to the city, invite veterans, have Military Appreciation Month, and have an opportunity to honor people in our city who deserve that honor. So I think what we're missing now is the opportunity for a citizen to make that request rather than relying on someone in a position of power identifying it. And then I think two, having a process around it will really kind of similar to our discussion about the Gladstone Historical Society, rather than making arbitrary decisions based on our own personal feelings. I think if we have a specific process that's set out, that's fair, consistent, and equitable, then whenever a request comes about, it's not, hey, you didn't approve my request for Juneteenth because you don't appreciate this community. It's, hey, this is our process. It's the same for everybody. So I think it both increases engagement with the community, and it does it in a way that's fair and equitable and not just based off of who's currently sitting on the council at the time and do they feel like that cause is deserving of them to give it a voice. Because I think if it wasn't for Councilor Huckabee and myself mentioning Juneteenth, it wouldn't have been mentioned. I know Councilor Garlington, you do a great job with Earth Day and everything around the Friends of the Gladstone Nature Park, right? We all bring our own interests, but I think we can't rely on us having a council that represents every interest within the city of Gladstone. I think by giving community members the chance to engage in that process, I think it makes everybody feel seen and heard. I'll be honest where this is coming from with me. I had a conversation with a mom at pickup. So my 6-year-old, now 6-year-old, goes to school at Candy Lane, which is a Spanish language school just outside city limits. It's like I could throw a softball and hit it right here down the road. And I was talking to a mom who I know lives right down the street in Gladstone. And she mentioned she was moving. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. She's like a mom that I love seeing at pickup. It's like, I'm so sorry to hear, are you staying in Gladstone? Are you just moving out of Gladstone? She said, yeah, you know, when I moved to Gladstone, there was a lot of stuff that I just didn't know about, and my family hasn't felt very welcome here. And so she was saying that to me, further conversation. She was talking about being, you know, a parent of mixed race kids. So, you know, I really part of there's been multiple reasons for me bringing this forward, but I think everything that we can do to make sure that everybody feels welcome and heard in Gladstone. I think this is just one way to do that. Yes, it may cost some staff time, but I think it meets it would serve some of our stated goals. And I think there's a way to do it that is fair, equitable, and doesn't take that much time or money.
How about the people that don't agree with it? Like say you were to bring something up, right? And then someone was to remark, you know, that would divide the community. So
I'm going to interrupt here because I don't want us to have the work session tonight. If we're going to have the work session, we can discuss these items at that time. I see there's enough interest on both sides for us to, I respect Administrator Betts' suggestion that we recommend doing it, but don't dictate when we're going to do it so that you can best work out when.
Well, while you were all deliberating, I decided that the best date to do it is August 13th. We will have a very light agenda and we'll adjourn into a work session that night because we're not going to have a work session in August. So
Okay.
we'll do August 13th. If that's what the consensus of the council is, we will do it that night.
All right, is that agreeable? All right, I see people writing it down, so looks like we have reached that consensus. All right, thank you for bringing that up. And you know, save those thoughts that I interrupted for August 13th. And I know that I do get requests as mayor because a lot of email comes to the mayors of cities. I get requests from people, not just within our community, but from other advocacy groups wanting proclamations about various things. It's easy right now for me to just reply, we don't normally do that. And that takes me off the hook. But if we have a procedure, then I can say, this is our procedure. So that may be what comes. All right, I think that's it for tonight. Would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right, it's been moved by Councilor Alexander and seconded by Councilor Huckabee that we adjourn the meeting. Haley, will you call the roll, please?
Counselor Huckabee.
Yes.
Counselor Alexander.
Yes.
Counselor Blog.
Yes.
Counselor Cook.
Yes.
Counselor Roberts.
Yes.
Counselor Garlington.
Yes.
Mayor Milch.
Yes, the meeting is adjourned at 8:51 p.m. Thank you.